Musician Monday, Miss Aretha Franklin. Oh, Aretha. It took me 3 weeks to get this. And if y'all go back and look at my feed, I haven't done one since David Ruffin over 3 weeks ago. Aretha was too busy telling me to stay out of her business, girl. A straight diva. Here we go. Aretha Louise Franklin was born March the 25th, 1942 in Memphis, Tennessee. That makes her an A. Reed, super diva. Aretha was an American songwriter, singer, and pianist. She was honored as the Queen of Soul and named twice by Rolling Stone magazine as the greatest singer of all time. Around the age of 2, Aretha moved with her family to Detroit, Michigan. This is where she became known for her gospel voice at her church, New Bethel Baptist Church, that her father was the pastor, Reverend C.L. Franklin. By the age of 18, Aretha had signed with Columbus Records, but she wasn't popping. It wasn't until she signed with Atlanta Records in 1966 to where she started moving towards more popularity and fame. There she was known for the record I Never Loved a Man the Way That I Loved You. But by 1979, she had moved to Arista Records where she hit with the top single, A Rose Is Still a Rose. Aretha is known to be one of the best selling music artists, selling over 75 million records worldwide. She dominated the charts with songs like Respect, RESPEC, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, Chain, 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 A Fool, and I Say a Little Prayer for You. That's just some of the many of Aretha accomplishments. Throughout her career, she's received over 18 Grammys, several being for the best female R&B vocal artist, as well as the Grammy Living Legend Award and the Lifetime Achievement Award. By 1987, she was the first female artist to be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And as time progressed, she was also inducted into the UK Hall of Fame, the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, the National Women's Hall of Fame, and the Pulitzer Prize. Aretha was raised in the church by her pastor father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, and her piano player mother, Barbara Franklin. They were residing in Memphis, Tennessee, but by the time Aretha was 2 years old, they moved to Buffalo, New York. And by the time she was 5 years old, they had moved to Detroit, Michigan, where her father took over the pastorship of the New Bethel Baptist Church. By the time Aretha was 6 years old, her parents had separated due to her father's infidelity. Her mom had moved back to Buffalo, New York, where Aretha would spend most of her summers there with her mom, and her mom would come back and forth to Michigan visiting her children. Most of her upbringing was by her father. Right before Aretha's 10th birthday, on March the 7th, 1952, her mother had passed. Her grandma came to help raise her, and Miss Mahala Jackson raised her as well, helped out, and she even learned to play the piano by ear through having them around. Now, by the age 12 years old, Aretha had became pregnant with her first child. It was said that her classmate Edward Jordan was her child's father, but it was later found out after she passed through a will that it was actually the father of Edward Jordan that was actually the father. So it was his daddy who was a grown man. Now we ain't even finna get into about how daddy was throwing them big old parties. Now we talking about Pastor Daddy, right? Daddy was known for being like a top celebrity pastor. We call them mega pastors now. He was cool with all the famous people, the celebrities. He had them at his house. He knew them. They did kickback. And so, Aretha was exposed to a lot of toxic stuff at a very young age. So by the age of 12, after the baby, her father was managing her and taking her on the road, doing shows and signing deals. Daddy was about that money, and it showed through his daughter. Now, by age 16, Aretha was out there traveling, y'all, with the Soul Stirrers, meaning Sam Cooke, Dr. Martin Luther, the Staples, Marvin Gaye. I mean, just out there connecting with the folks. 'Cause like I told y'all, Daddy was in the loop, and Daddy was one of the mega pastors back in the day. So he kept that money and he kept himself in some type of fame. So by 1966, y'all, things was getting a little bit out of hand when it came to Aretha. Like contract signings, money being missing, label droppings, hopping around in the industry. But she ended up signing with Atlanta Records, where she stayed there for almost 13 years. So by 1968, Aretha was one of the most successful recording artist around the world. I mean, she was so successful that she even had people impersonating her. Going on the stage calling themselves Aretha. Now, y'all know y'all ain't Aretha. Now, through all this fame and traveling and blow up shoeism, Aretha was the mother of four young boys. Though her first two were born at teenage age, 12 and 15, her second two were born into her adulthood with a father and a band member. I mean, a husband and a band member. But with all this fame and glory, Aretha did not have the time to raise them, but she did provide for them and come see them. Her grandmother Rachel and her sister Irma did most of the rearing of her children while she was getting herself together and making history around the world on the road. Aretha married twice, first by the time she was 18, but it didn't last long because he was abusive. And the second was to actress Glenn Turman, where they was only married for 6 years. Aretha's sisters did background vocals for her. It is rumored that her sister Irma wanted the same type of fame, but Aretha did not want to share the limelight. Diva. By August 2018, Aretha was very ill and on hospice. And on August the 16th, 2018, at the age of 76, Aretha passed at her home. She was said to have pancreatic cancer. Now, it was said that Miss Aretha did not have a will, and her folks knew she was rich and had that money, and they wanted it. Especially her boys, they was fighting over that money. So as her nieces and people going through her stuff at her house, they was finding handwritten wills stuffed into couches, and I'm thinking it was like three of them. And they took that to court, and the judge ruled that the handwritten wills were valid enough for the people in her property. It was one from 2010 written for her boys, and then another for 2014 that was different, but the one in 2014 was signed. The boys was fighting over that 2010 one because it made more sense to them, but the 2014 had more demand. But out of the four boys, one was in a home for disabilities, and the other three were split fairly with the will and her property. But it was said that in her will that her first two children father, Edward Jordan Sr., was not to receive a dime, not anything. Aretha was not very comfortable with him or talking about those two children fathers at the beginning. Y'all tell me what secrets y'all hiding. She was hiding. Did y'all ever watch the movie Respect? What y'all think? What y'all think about her daddy and her upbringing and all? Miss Aretha, you were a natural woman. God bless.